What's going on YouTube? This is Ryan, aka Diamond Delt. Well, I've done it. I've finished the 12-week cutting diet that I've been on. I made some excellent progress over this 12-week period. I started at 178 pounds and maybe around 12-13% body fat. And over the 12-week period that I've been cutting, I'm now down to about 167, 168. So that's about 12 or 13 pounds, which is pretty good. A pound a week is about the most optimal rate that you want to lose fat. So I really believe that I only lost maybe 95% fat and maybe 5% muscle. And hopefully in the videos that I've made throughout this diet, you've seen those results, you've seen those progress. Um, you've seen me pose, and you've seen how a natural physique can come down in that period of time. So I wanted to make this video for a few reasons. I'm going to show you some posing just to see how I look at my last few days of this diet. I'm going to go over, some of the things that I feel like worked well during this diet prep, as well as some things that may not have worked as well. And all of this information I think would be very useful for somebody who's into natural bodybuilding. I mean, you can get a perspective from somebody who's done it before and somebody who's continuously learning about how their body works. Because as a natural, we're always learning. We're always trying to figure out what is the best for us. I'm no exception. I mean, I've been training for 9.5 years, but I still don't know 100% what works and what doesn't, so we always have to experiment. So I'd briefly like to talk about that, and I'd also like to give a shout out to all the wonderful people who've been subscribing to me and who've been sending me very nice messages, whether through personal messages or comments or through Skype. All of you have been really great. I've been really surprised that so many people have subscribed and have been asking for my opinion about this sort of stuff. I've always just been doing this as a hobby, and it feels good to know that people value your opinion. So I just want to say thank you to all of you who have been asking questions and leaving very nice messages, and I want to encourage you to continue doing that. If you have any questions about anything related to natural bodybuilding, if you are interested in making or having me make a video response about it, or if you just want to ask me in a personal message, go ahead. I'll try and get back to you as soon as I can. And really, thank you so much for your support and for your viewership. I mean, it means a lot to me. Okay, so first thing I'd like to talk about, during this 12-week diet, what I tried, some things that I tried this time around that I feel like were really helpful. One, I kept protein at 1.4 grams per pound of body weight. I did this for two reasons. One, I did it because as a macronutrient, a protein takes more energy to convert into energy than a carbohydrate or a fat. And this is biology. So it would stand to reason that if I'm going to be taking in a certain amount of nutrients, it would be preferential for me to take in more of a nutrient that takes more energy to burn rather than a nutrient that takes less. So you'll often see some people who say, taking a gram of protein per pound of body weight. But when you're dieting, you'll usually see a recommendation that's higher. That's one reason that I believe that this was really useful. The other reason is, as you diet, there's always a possibility that if you're low on energy, your body could use protein as a source of energy instead of carbohydrate. Now, I tried as much as possible to provide my body with carbohydrate, but I never took that for granted. I always wanted to have a little bit of extra protein there as a buffer, just in case. my body decided to use some protein for energy, I'd have extra. Another thing I feel like that worked was getting basically my deficit from low intensity cardio. And past cutting diets, what I've done is I've taken an incremental approach, and I've gotten the deficit through just reducing carbohydrates as the sole source, so not doing much cardio. And what I found was that around the 8-week mark and beyond, I started losing massive strength in the gym. I mean, there's only so many carbs that you can cut from your diet before you really start to see performance decreases. You need carbohydrates for energy. You can't perform heavy workouts. You can't maintain your strength if you don't have carbs. And that's just my opinion. I don't see any other way. I mean, maybe there's some people who can respond well to a low carb diet when they're, dieting, but for somebody like me, a bodybuilder who wants to maintain my strength, and my muscle mass, I just feel like that's a bad thing to do. So in order to continue reaching a deficit, I just either increased my cardio through low intensity cardio, or I lowered my calories to reflect my new body weight. So, I'd be cognizant of what my maintenance calorie intake was. I'd constantly alter that and lower it as my body weight dropped. But I'd always keep low intensity cardio there just as the sole source of calorie deficit. And another benefit of doing that was I found that it actually helped recovery. Like through this 12-week dieting cycle, you would have expected that I would have lost a little bit of strength, but actually I gained about 5, maybe 10 pounds on my deadlift. My max deadlift using my normal training weight was about 410 pounds. Through this cycle now it's about 420. So, take that for what it's worth, but I feel like doing a lot of low intensity cardio is more beneficial to achieve a calorie deficit than lowering your calories from carbohydrate. Another thing that I think is really useful, or that I found to be really useful, was, as I mentioned before, timing your carb intake around your workout schedule. So I work a pretty sedentary job, and I decided to try a little experiment in which I would take, basically fibrous green vegetables from the time I wake up to about the time that I get home after work as my sole source of energy, including proteins. And after that, I would actually eat the majority of my carbohydrates right before I worked out. I feel like this was really beneficial to maintaining strength, and possibly could be attributed to the marginal increases in strength that I got. But what I don't think was really that necessary was taking in a large portion of your carbohydrates post-workout. I actually kept it less this time around than I did in previous cutting diets, and I didn't see any difference. So that's my perspective on that. I mean, obviously I did take some. I did have a post-workout shake, usually a banana and some milk and some protein powder, but not like I've done in the past. Not, a shake and oatmeal and banana and fruit and all these other things. No, I didn't feel like that was necessary, and I didn't suffer any adverse effects from that. Here's another thing that I think was not really that necessary, is worrying about what kind of exercise routine you do. I mean, sometimes you'll see people who suggest that, maybe you take off more time from the gym, maybe you get more rest days. A lot of times you'll hear guys say, well, my recovery was starting to suffer when I was dieting. You know what, I feel like my recovery was just the same. And the reason I say that is because I am able to program a routine that manages my volume and my intensity correctly and intelligently. I feel like if you're just going into the gym pushing every set to failure and winging it and not really paying attention to what you're doing, then yeah, when you're dieting, you're gonna start to regress. You're gonna find that you need more recovery. But if you're training smart, if you're managing your volume and you're waiving it over time, I didn't feel the need to reduce my rest days at all. In fact, I increased the amount of lifts that I did from week 1 till about week 8. I changed my workout schedule from doing about 5 training sessions a week to 6. And then near the end, I changed it down to 5 or 4 just out of preference, but not because I felt like I needed to. So to sum that up, basically your exercise schedule, the days that you train during the week, I feel like that has no effect on your cutting progress if you have an intelligently designed routine. You need to manage your volume, you need to manage your intensity, you need to manage the amount, the speed at which you try and increase your weights. But you don't need to reduce the amount of times that you train a week, unless you have to, from work or whatever. So that was my recap of what I think was important this time around for this cutting diet. And without further ado, I'll do a little posing for you now to show off my 12th week and final week of this bodybuilding diet. So I hope you enjoy it. Thanks. So there's my posing, and that's my progress for this 12-week diet. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you learned something if you're interested in natural bodybuilding from this 12-week journey that we've taken. And I'm going to keep making videos and keep you guys informed on what I'm doing, whether I'm bulking, maintaining, or whatever. And I'll try and make videos to help you guys out, because I can see that there's some real interest in this whole natural bodybuilding lifestyle. So I'm more than happy to share what I know, and I hope you guys continue to watch and continue to enjoy these videos. And like I said, if you have any specific questions that you want me to answer or cover in a video, you want me to talk about anything in particular, just comment below, PM me, and thanks for all the support. I really appreciate it. So take care, guys.